Ladies and gentlemen, Kurzgesagt, and this is Are There Lost Alien Civilizations in Our Past by the channel Kurzgesagt in a nutshell. Here's another Kurzgesagt video. This was uploaded just a few hours ago. Every time there's a Kurzgesagt video, I have to react to it. I love science, anything science related, and Kurzgesagt is a great channel for that. React to a lot of great scientific topics. So yeah, are there lost alien civilization in our past? Knowing Kurzgesagt, he's probably going to talk about what if there were some alien civilizations long before humans were a thing. We just don't have the tools to, I guess, figure it out yet. But whatever we know so far, let's just see the evidence. Like, is there a chance or something? I'm thinking it could be that, but we'll see. Remember, if you like my reaction, don't forget to like, subscribe, so I know which type of videos to react to more. Check out the reaction, there's a link in the description. Check out the cards, yeah, that's what it.
When we think about alien civilizations, we tend to look into the vastness of space, to faraway planets. But there is another incredibly vast dimension that we might be giving too little thought to: time.
Yeah, okay.
Could it be that over the last hundreds of millions of years, other civilizations existed on Earth?
Yeah.
Indigenous technological species that rose and died out, and that they or their artifacts are buried beneath our feet. What does science have to say about this, and what are the implications for us?
Before Kurzgesagt says anything, I think if any civilization at our scale that we are right now, if anything like that existed, I'm pretty sure we would have some fossil evidence of it, some. But then again, we have to take account for lots of things, like lots of natural changes the planet goes through, right? It could have been lots of different chain events that could have just, either made fossil inaccessible for an extremely long time that we can't even find, or just, I guess, eliminate it entirely. But it's hard to think there's something like us could have existed on Earth, and we don't have any evidence. There are lots of movies and games that has this concept, right? Somebody just unearths something, right? Something found, like, oh, holy shit, there used to be an ancient civilization. They were much advanced than us. This is a fascination with humans. Like, what if there was something like that? So this is a great topic.
Life on Earth has existed for 4 billion years, mostly as single-celled organisms, until some 540 million years ago, the Cambrian explosion heralded the age of animals. A huge time window for our indigenous aliens. Where would we look for them, and what could we hope to find? Sadly, we have only one civilization to look at: ourselves. Anatomically modern humans emerged around 300,000 years ago and probably lived in small groups of hunter-gatherers, slowly spreading around the world. Progress was slow and our lifestyle didn't change much, although there may have been local bursts of complexity. Until about 10,000 years ago, when the agricultural revolution changed our lifestyle forever, enabling massive population growth and...
humans start to evolve millions years ago, right? You can trace humans and human-like species millions of years back. But 10,000 years ago, it's when the agriculture and everything, like the society, I don't know, collective, I guess, agriculture basically, that made kings and shit, right? People stop moving, start to, create cities because they don't have to move anymore. They can just farm. So the real advance started 10,000 years ago, then slowly it just rose up. And what's more fucked up thing about this is, imagine millions and even billions of years from now on, some other civilization talk about humans. Right now we think about all this cavemen and shit, because that's the timeline we have. We are relatively young, but after millions, hundreds of million, billion years after that, this timeline won't matter nothing, right? Nobody's going to think about cavemen. Nobody's going to think about what they're doing 10,000 years ago or something. People will see, how did humans evolve? Okay, there was such thing as human. Then they fucking made social media or something. There was such thing as Kardashian. They were just weird people.
Technological progress. Rather than just animals with culture and tools that would have been invisible from space, we changed the face of the planet, cleared forests and constructed cities and temples for our gods at breathtaking speeds and scales. Until about 300 years ago, we became an industrial species, and yet again our numbers grew exponentially, as did our impact on the planet. We could say that our 300,000-year-long history has 3 phases. We were hunter-gatherers for 97%, farmers for 2.9%, and industrialists for
Seriously.
0.1% of our history.
This is the timeline that people think of when they think about humans long in the future. Nobody's going to think about none of this.
And yet, we are super new on Earth. On geological timescales, even the sturdiest things lose their durability. The oldest large-scale surface is the Negev Desert, a meager 1.8 million years old. Everything older has been crushed to dust or turned over, and it's either below the ground or covered by ice or
There
ocean.
you go.
Our age, the Anthropocene, will be a layer only a few centimeters thick in a few million years. If there were aliens before us and they too went through these three phases, what would remain of them? What can we learn about indigenous aliens by looking at ourselves? Hunter-gatherer aliens. We actually know that in the last few million years there were hunter-gatherer aliens. Our ancestors like Homo erectus and cousins like the Neanderthals or Denisovans, and probably many more that we haven't found yet or are lost to time forever.
Alright, I don't want to pause too much, but come on, this is like where we draw the line when we say aliens, right? I mean, all of these were kind of close to us, right? All of them were like cousin genes to us or brother genes to whatever you want to say it. If you're gonna call somebody alien, they have to be so far away from our DNA, and they got detached, I guess, millions and millions of years ago, hundreds of millions of years ago, that you can't really connect them close to us. Then you can say aliens. I mean, sure, you can call them aliens, but it's like where are you gonna draw the line when you say aliens, right?
They left fragments of their bodies, of weapons and tools, and even art. Considering how long they existed and how little remains of them, although they lived not that far from our present, it's easy to think there have been others.
Yeah.
Intelligent animals like us that could talk and use tools and fire, that had culture and art. For the last 2 million years, most hominins lived as hunter-gatherers. So if these aliens never moved up higher on the tech tree, hundreds of different species and cultures could have existed without leaving any traces. Their artifacts...
I mean, look at the, dolphins. Look at the elephant, which are much closer to us in brain power, right? I mean, it's not hard to think that there have been some species in the past that could have been just like us. Not saying that they would have advanced at our level, not saying they would have an opposable thumb that helped them eventually to evolve, but, maybe they were kind of somewhat close to us in a way. They communicated, they did something, right? But it's not far-fetched to think. If we found animals right now that even not even close to it, everyone was blithering idiot, that is kind of hard to think like, okay, we kind of feel unique. Our brain power is unique. But that's not the case.
Lost to biological and then geological processes. At worst, they would leave absolutely nothing to be found after thousands of years. But what about fossils? We talked about how unlikely the process of fossilization is in more detail in our dinosaur video, but in a nutshell, per 100,000 years of Earth's history, we only get a handful of good fossils.
Yeah.
So we might easily just miss fossils of such people, but even if we had any, we wouldn't necessarily be able to identify them as hunter-gatherers.
Yeah, it's pretty hard.
Agricultural and empire aliens. Looking at humans again, agricultural societies left much more to be dug up and found because they used more sophisticated tools made from sturdier materials and had to feed millions, leaving many more artifacts. Farming allowed them to specialize and develop tech from writing to navigation, architecture, and government. Over thousands of years, city-states became kingdoms and empires, some existing for millennia before they fell. Many of the buildings or monuments they constructed are still around, and traces of them will exist for a few thousand more years. Some only as outlines in the ground, but still recognizable to future archaeologists. The pyramids are piles of limestone so massive that they will probably be around for hundreds of thousands of years.
Well, look here. We can see this and think in the future, if China wall disappears, we will see the patterns in this and that. It's only because we humans have this kind of tendency to see those kind of patterns, because entire civilization evolved in that way, right? But what if the aliens we're talking about is so far different, their pattern is intuitive to them, but we can't even see that pattern, right? So it's really hard to know what civilization and how they were for us to recognize the pattern, if there is any today, right? So there are way too many elements that even if there was civilization, I'm thinking that science is so sturdy, right? That in future, doesn't matter how long in the future, one day we will figure something out if there is something like that. But it's easier to miss.
Years. And because of the greater numbers of humans that lived during our farm and empire period, we can expect way more fossils and artifacts to be detectable, maybe for a few million years before they vanish. So we can say with confidence that no such indigenous alien civilization existed in the last few billion years, because otherwise we would have found something that they left. This still leaves a window of hundreds of millions of years, back to the emergence of complex life, where we wouldn't be able to tell. If there were alien pre-industrial societies and empires on the level of the ancient Romans or Chinese, they would have likely disappeared without a trace.
Yeah.
Their tools, even advanced metals, would have rotted away. If they dug up canals, cleared forests, and built cities, their traces would be very hard to distinguish from nature. Maybe there was once an empire of cephalopods occupying impressive cities in swamps and lakes made from wood and stone. Their engineers flooding land to build wet cities, their poets reciting poems in a language of colors. Maybe they never industrialized. Maybe their society was too stable or not inventive enough, or they never got a chance. A single event like an asteroid, an epidemic, or an ice age could just have deleted their civilization, ground up their temples as their soft bodies rotted away. Sadly, we don't have the tiniest amount of evidence for any such civilization. After a few million years at best, their achievements would have dissolved into nothing. Industrial indigenous aliens.
Yeah, that would be so unlucky event, right? Like there was some underwater civilization, but fucking meteor has to have an impact right there. Just literally fucking atomize everything that was there, never to be found again. That would be so fucked up though.
What about industrial civilizations like humanity today? Imagine humans died out suddenly through a pandemic or cosmic rays or something like that.
Not cool, man.
What would remain? Our impact on the planet is orders of magnitude greater than that of our ancestors.
Yeah.
The fossil record will show a great extinction of wildlife and an explosion of fossils from human-associated animals.
I mean, for us, the Earth is small. Let's just say it's not, but the way we are spread around the whole planet, fucking satellites and things, right? Bases on Antarctica. We spread out so much that it's impossible for somebody to not find us somehow. I mean, as soon as they enter the planet, some alien like, what the fuck is all this? Look at that, all the clutter, all the damn satellites.
Like rats, cows, pigs, and chickens. Like the structures of our ancestors, skyscrapers and streets and hard drives will basically crumble into nothingness in a few millennia. But because there were so many humans everywhere, for a few million years after our sudden end, there would be clear hints of our existence. The byproducts of our industrial lifestyle might actually give us away for some hundreds of millions of years. We use massive amounts of artificial fertilizer which redirects Earth's flow of nitrogen that is being deposited in the soil. Mining metals and rare earth elements leaves long-term scars and depletes natural resources. We saturate our oceans with plastics that find their way to the ocean floor and may persist for hundreds of millions of years.
Yeah.
There are radioactive elements and their decay, unnatural accumulations of elements that don't exist outside labs or weapons. And of course, in our short industrial history, we have changed the proportion of CO2 in the air by burning massive amounts of fossil fuels, increasing the acidity of the oceans, and so on.
So it's not that we'll disappear, it'd be like a crime scene. As soon as the alien comes, like, what the fuck? Look at all the goddamn carbon. What is the plastic floating in the water? What is all this? Who the fuck did this?
We may already have left a mark in the geological record. So far, we have found no traces of an industrial alien civilization. No layers of weird chemicals or displaced elements. No radioactive layer to indicate that once great nations waged nuclear war. We do see mass extinctions and massive shifts in the fossil records, but no evidence that they did not occur naturally. And, ironically, we've hit upon an interesting problem here. if industrial societies stress the ecosystem enough to cause their own extinction, they won't be around that long. But if they become sustainable, their imprint on the geological record may be tiny. If past industrial civilizations were sustainable before they died out, we may have little to no chance of ever knowing about them.
Yeah.
In any case, over hundreds of millions of years, these signatures may become very subtle and get overlooked or interpreted as natural. Even if an industrialized alien society existed.
So basically, honest to God accountant who's just good in every single way, who pays his taxes and everything, will basically become obsolete in few hundred years. Nobody will know he was there. But a psychopath, a psycho killer, everybody will know about him. So that's what we are, humans, the psychopaths. We'll leave the print, alright.
200 million years ago and lasted for 100,000 years, 300 times longer than industrial humanity, it still might be easy to miss it in the geological record. In any case, all of this is speculation.
Yeah.
In the end, we shouldn't use our imagination to trick ourselves into thinking we know anything about our blind spots. Just
It's
assuming
fun,
a thing happened because we don't have evidence against it is a trap we should avoid. So, for now, if we look at the vastness of time, it seems as
Okay, what did I miss there?
assuming a thing happened because we don't have evidence against it is a trap we should avoid.
What? The negative? That's the most stupidest thing. I mean, anybody who has any basic scientific knowledge, right? Scientifically literate would never do that. Anybody says, okay, what if there was aliens here? You don't have evidence that there were not aliens here. That's like you're asking to prove a negative. No, you're supposed to give me evidence that there were aliens here, not the other way around. I'm not supposed to prove that there were not aliens here. Unless there's a fucking evidence there were no aliens here, right? Anytime a scientist say, I don't believe in this, people are like, oh, you're close-minded. No, what that scientist is saying that we don't have evidence right now. There could have been. I have imagination too, but that's not how I talk. I talk on right now what we have evidence on. And so far, we don't have anything evidence about this. When we do, I'll change my view. Everybody says that. Every scientist says that. But people mistake that as close-mindedness. Like they're saying there is no way in hell there could be aliens here. They are not saying that. They live in now, like what we have evidence right now. Don't ask people to prove a negative. That's just stupid.
So, for now, if we look at the vastness of time, it seems as devoid of aliens as the vastness of space. Maybe we are alone in this universe and always were. Maybe we'll find traces of others eventually, we don't know. But there is one important takeaway. The continuation of our civilization is not guaranteed, and if we're not careful, we may disappear forever. Let's hope that in a few million years, there isn't another civilization studying our layer in the fossil record.
The fuck is this?
It's frustrating to know there are so many things in
Those aliens like, the fuck is this? Look at all those long limbs. What was that?
our past we can't access. At least you can avoid that annoying feeling when it comes to other stuff you're interested in, like your favorite TV shows or movies. You can make this possible by going to nordvpn.com/.
Yeah, alright. Yeah, we will go to nordvpn.com/Kurzgesagt and support this channel. This is a great channel who goes really in deep when it comes to scientific topic, but also explore the what if scenarios. That is just fun, right? Obviously, talking about scientific topic is great, but also talking about what could have been and what could be is also fun. Yeah. Right, people, this was Are There Lost Alien Civilizations in Our Past? Probably we will never know. But since there is no evidence of it, we'll assume there is not. But the channel Kurzgesagt in a nutshell. If you like my reaction, don't forget to like, subscribe, check out the reaction, there's a link in the description, check out the cards, check out the cards, and yeah, I'll see you next time.